Hi, I'm Kathy Callahan-Brady, and welcome to In the Trenches. Today we've got a very special guest for us. This is Kevin McDermott. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Long drive, but reverse commute, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, which is what everyone should do. I keep telling them that you should be coming up 270 to Frederick, not down. But anyways.
It takes less than an hour to get here.
Wow, that's
And
very cool. Well, thanks for doing it. We appreciate it.
Certainly.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your business and what you do for startups.
Well, what I do is just to familiarize yourself with me, is I'm an attorney who practices intellectual property law, and I do primarily patents and trademarks. I've been doing it for a little over 20 years. And for the past 11 years, I've been intellectual property counsel for a company called Daon, which is owned...
Called what?
Daon, D-A-O-N.
Oh, I almost thought you said something else. You're not supposed to. Sorry, go ahead.
Fair enough. Which is owned by an Irish financier, Dermot Desmond. And about 2 years ago, he decided that he didn't want to finance the company anymore, so management let go of a bunch of people, and they asked me if I would take a 20% pay cut. And I agreed to it as long as they would agree to allow me to start my own.
Oh, nice.
So I started my own doing intellectual property, again, primarily patents and trademarks. And as such, what I do is I prepare and prosecute patent applications before the United States Patent and Trademark Office in many different technologies. I do that here, and I arrange for counterpart applications to be filed and prosecuted in other countries around the world.
Okay.
And I don't know if you're familiar with infringement opinions, non-infringement opinions, invalidity, validity, clearance opinions. I also provide those.
Sounds incredibly exciting. What the
can
heck
be.
is it? No.
It can be.
What is it?
Well, it is securing your intellectual property rights. FTSE has several companies, smaller companies, that are developing technologies, and they need to protect what they do.
Now, are you mostly biotech or are you technology proper? Which one?
Well, my technologies would be electrical, mechanical, computer, things along this line. I've done work in cybersecurity, biometrics, aircraft engines, wind turbines, which are glorified windmills, golf clubs, all kinds of things.
Golf clubs can be patented?
Of course.
Okay. So why are patents so expensive?
Oh.
I know I wasn't supposed to ask that question.
It depends.
Whoops, it wasn't on the
where
list.
you go. In the United States, they're considered cheap.
Really?
Right.
That's the one thing everybody talks about. It's like, how do you make these things?
They're cheap in the United States.
Are they really?
Yeah. If
So
you go
what
to,
are we talking about for a patent?
if you are a small,
Thousands and thousands of dollars.
if you consider yourself a small entity, right, the USPTO filing fee is $800. Over in Europe, it's $3,000 initially, and 6 or 8 months later, you pay another $3,000. Pardon me, euro. It's not dollars.
Okay, right.
So just to get an idea of what I mean by cheap at the United States
Okay.
Patent Office. Also, what I do is, since I am part-time intellectual property counsel at Daon, I'm able to offer a discounted rate.
That's the reason why we like you.
So what I do,
I know that's terrible, but for startups, they need they need that edge.
right? So what I propose is charging $100 an hour to companies that are startups that are being incubated by FTSE, and then after they get on their feet and they're on their own, having had an opportunity to work with me, if they want to continue, they can, but it would be at my regular rate.
Okay.
And to give you an idea of how cheap that is, second-year associates at many DC firms charge $500 an hour. And generally, it's between $500 an hour and $1,000 an hour.
Yeah, they have to pay for law school.
Yeah, that's right. But that's okay.
That's a different conversation.
That's a different issue.
Right, exactly. Okay, so something else is, I don't know why we put this list in front of me, but I'm curious. So, a lot of startups, they just don't feel like they have the money, so they go out and they do this provisional patent, they write it themselves, and they submit it, and they think that they're safe and everything is wonderful and good. And I've heard all sorts of, it's turned out in some of them okay, and then other ones, what would you?
They need to know what they're doing. I just happened to look yesterday up a whole bunch of things about provisional applications. And a provisional application, what it does primarily is it establishes a date for you, a filing date, and it gives you a year after that in which you can try to develop your product Once you can do, you can develop it more, try to sell it, see if it's going to go in the direction you think it's going to go, see if you can make some money, see if you can sell it. If you can do all those things or some of those things to your satisfaction, then you can file what's called a non-provisional patent application. But you have to do it within that 1 year period. And the non-provisional patent application is really what everybody thinks of as your typical patent.
Right.
And the non-provisional application lasts for 1 year. I don't know if I said that or not, if I'm repeating myself. And if you're going to file a non-provisional patent application, you need to do it within that 1 year period. And something that's important that I didn't know until yesterday, I didn't realize, is that for a provisional patent application, the initial filing date serves as the date from which you determine whether or not you can file around the world. There is something called the Paris Convention Treaty. It's from 1883. And if you file a patent application in any country around the world, or any signatory country, which is most countries, you get 1 year to file counterpart applications in other member countries.
Okay.
So that 1 year starts when you file your provisional, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah, exactly. Especially
So-
for people who are going to file international patents as well.
Right. And, well, provisional applications also, I think, inventors tend to want to write themselves, which is fine. They don't have any claims in them, and that's very important. That the part of a patent that's legally enforceable, that's litigated, that companies would be interested in are the claims.
Okay.
A provisional application doesn't include any claims.
Okay.
It's the non-provisional that includes the claims, and you want an attorney to do that.
So are you a litigator as well?
I don't litigate. There are, I'll call them procedures at the patent office, inter partes review, which I would do. I have not done yet, but I certainly do that.
Cool.
I argue when you prosecute a patent application or you prosecute a trademark application, you argue with the examiner and you're arguing legal issues. So the procedure, IPR, the inter partes review at the patent office, is just arguing the same issues for all intents and purposes, just before 2 or 3 judges. So
That's interesting.
that's why I'd be willing to do it. I don't think it would be that much different.
Yeah.
I would just need to familiarize myself with the workings of the procedure.
So I'm always curious, why did you get into this? Why legal and why patent?
I went to law school because I was a civil engineer designing roads, and I was designing neighborhoods, and I was designing utilities.
Okay, I'm not taking the
but
leap
just-
yet.
No, but and so that's why I went. When I was in law school, people said, well, you're an engineer, you're going to go into patents. And I thought, well, no, not really. And then after my 3rd year at law school, I applied for jobs at firms that did land development, firms that did patent. So I went into patent, and that was it. And my mother worked at the patent office in the 50s, and she said that I always loved working with patents, and she was right.
Interesting.
That I just fell into it. I got lucky.
I think most people fall into what they do and get lucky. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some of these questions.
Okay, all right.
So how can your business actually help other startups succeed?
Well, I think what would be most attractive is the $100 an hour rate. I think that would help them succeed, right? That would free up funds for other things they need to pursue. That's number one. Number two, I've been doing this for over 20 years. Mr. Dermot Desmond is a billionaire, so for all intents and purposes, I'm his patent attorney. I have a lot of experience.
Protecting his patents?
As well, yes, doing that as well as, are you familiar with trolls, non-practicing entities?
No.
Well, there are entities out there that will send a startup a letter and say, you're infringing our patent.
Oh,
Now, what is a startup going to do when they get a letter?
patent. They're going to panic.
Right, exactly. They're going to need to talk to somebody who can help them out. And I've dealt with
Okay.
several of those situations.
Trolls. Sorry, I
So-
wanted to joke on that one. But
Fair enough. So experience, the rate, $100 an
Yeah.
hour. Plus, I'm small, they're small, I can speak their language. I'm not like a large law firm. I can give attention to their legal matter. I can give it the attention it deserves rather than just cursory attention.
yeah. Well, we appreciate that. We subscribe to the Lean Startup Method, so you guys are phenomenal at being part of our Business Resource Center, so I appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for coming down and helping these guys out. I mean, even just the free advice. Hopefully they're taking advantage of you being there. So,
I think some are getting used to me.
Yeah.
A couple folks have.
well, you're kind of scary, you know. So,
I know suit and tie. People don't wear suit and ties much anymore. but
no,
I do.
not so much.
Yeah.
Not as
I
entrepreneurs.
figure if I'm selling myself
Yeah.
as an attorney, I better look like one. So,
So I do want to hear this. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten?
if you do somebody a favor, tell them you did it.
Say that again.
If you do somebody a favor, let them know that you did them a favor. If you're in business and you're doing work for somebody, just as an example, if I agree to do a patent for a certain amount of money and it takes longer time, should be charged more. And I tell them, look, I'm going to charge you what we agreed on. I ain't going to let you know that it took me double the amount of time.
Right.
Just want you to know that.
Okay.
That always resonated with me. I've gotten other pieces of advice. I don't know if it was really advice or just things to think about. Like I remember many years ago, I was working as a contractor. I was working at a construction company as an estimator, and a fellow came in, and he was different than the fellow that came before. And I asked him what happened to the other fellow. He said, well, you know, the devil's mind, or an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Oh, I've heard that one a lot.
And I thought, yeah, well, just keep moving. Don't be lazy. You know, that's a good piece of advice.
It's excellent advice. I think my grandparents were the ones who actually said that a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I wonder where that comes from, but
It resonated with me.
yeah, excellent. So would you like to leave them with your favorite quote or book? Something
Well, when I was in
that's
high
helped you?
school, a fellow named Morgan Wooten, he was a teacher of mine, and he always used to say that the cream rises to the top. So I'd like to think eventually I'll rise to the top. And hopefully your companies will as well, right?
Oh, we've been very successful. I'm really happy. We've beat a lot of the statistics and a lot of the odds. I mean, they'd say half of them going to disappear within the first, 1 and 2 years.
Right.
And we've got very, very few of them. And even the ones that have quit, they've gone back to get some additional income coming in, and they're still doing it on the side. So they haven't completely quit, and I feel really good about that. And I know a lot of that has to do with you guys. I shouldn't say a lot. I mean, it's a tremendous amount that you guys do to be able to provide them with that level of expertise and advice. So, no, thank you.
Yeah, I think perseverance is most of it. It's a large part of it. I would say.
As an investor, that's one of the things that we always look at is we're really betting on the jockey.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to make it to the finish line?
Yeah,
Because it's a hard one.
Don't get discouraged easily.
Yes, exactly. So thanks for joining the realm of the entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely.
Didn't realize you were
Absolutely.
doing that.
It's
So you
fun. I
fit
like
really
it.
nicely here at Fitzy. Yeah, so thank you for coming.
After this is done, I'll tell you a couple stories. So.
We probably should put those on camera, but anyway.
Well, it doesn't deal with me. It deals with, I could tell you about Mr. Desmond.
Oh, okay. All right.
You want to hear that?
No, I better say goodbye at
All right,
this
sure.
point.
Sure.
We might turn it back on, though.
Okay.
Anyways, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for watching In the Trenches. You can learn more at fitzy.org, and, basically it's the backstory of Fitzy and all of the people who support us. Thanks. Have a great day.